Should we, as educators, be asking students to bring their own technology and devices into the school in the intermediate and secondary education system? The main question here that we're being asked is if bring your own devices, is it the answer to education's problems, or does it unfairly put costs onto families? So first, I just want to say that I am an absolute supporter of bringing your own devices and bringing your own technology into the school. I 110% believe that students and children and even adults and teachers need to be taught and they need to realize that devices are not evil. Devices are just not, contrary to popular belief, used for Facebook, for Twitter, for games, for watching movies, for blackjack and solitaire. No. Devices and all these social media sites and all these applications, educational applications that a lot of people don't know about, are just a pit of resources for teachers and students to use. If we just had the training and we just had the knowledge of how to develop apps, how to use the apps, where to find the apps, how to implement them into our classrooms, technology would not be such a scary idea for educators, for parents, and for administration and students. We absolutely need to be teaching our youth and our students to be using their technology as a resource, as a tool to help them learn, as a tool to help them find the answers to questions that they are proposed, and for questions that they come up with, most importantly, on their own. So yes, I do believe that students should be asked to bring their own technologies and their own devices so that we can more readily teach them how to use them on a day-to-day basis. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of bring your own devices? I'll first start with the disadvantages. The disadvantages of bring your own device would, of course, be that question of, is the school system putting a cost onto families that they absolutely cannot afford? Which is absolutely a possibility of asking students to bring their own devices. Secondly is the amount of training and the amount of professional development that might have to go into this sort of implementation of bring your own technology, because a lot of teachers, a lot of educators, they just don't have the knowledge or the know-how to implement technology like this in their classroom effectively. I'm really on the positive advantage side for this, so coming up with disadvantages, it's kind of limited for me. The advantages, I think, of bringing your own devices is just exactly like I said. We need to start implementing technology so that our youth have a greater control and a greater knowledge and use of their devices and their technology and the applications in their future. Technology is not going away. Social media is not going away. Our children need to be taught and our youth need to be taught that using these devices is a resource and it's going to help them, and they need to be able to use it in just a up-to-date, educated way. I don't think it is unfair to ask families to provide devices. During my very short time as a teacher, I have seen many children as young as 7th grade bringing their own iPhone 6s into the classroom, and they're just itching to use them. But they can't, because schools right now have this mindset that your technology is very distracting to the classroom. It's very distracting to you. And it is very distracting because the kids don't know how to use them effectively for their education. They know how to use them for Facebook and for texting and maybe for playing music. They don't know how to find apps that will help them with any kind of learning difficulty that they might have. They don't know how to use them to find and sort through information. So I think by asking families to provide the devices, they already are providing the devices, but they're just not being used the way that education needs them to be used. For those families who absolutely cannot afford to provide these devices, I think that's where it becomes the responsibility of the schools to provide the devices. Right now, there's a lot of technology in schools. There's iPads, e-readers, computers. Some of it is a little not up to date, but for the most part, schools do have their iPads. So I think that if we could come up with some sort of program where students could loan or sign out or borrow the technology that they need for the course, then that would be the best outcome for bring your own device. Students will know that they're expected to bring their own device, and they will, at the beginning of the year, be supplied with a device if they can't afford one. And I think that by implementing technology like this, it's going forward, and it's preparing our youth for the world that they're going to be presented with once they get out of the public education system.